Hi, good afternoon. My name is Remy Alapo. I'm a DMin doctoral student with UTS. The title of my presentation is The Effectiveness of Women's Ministry from Servant Leadership to Transformational Leadership. Because I have my poster set up on my screen, and it may be a little bit too tiny for you to view, I'm going to switch to the actual PowerPoint slide that is recreated from this poster. I will be turning in both the poster and the PowerPoint slides, but I'm going to switch right now to that PowerPoint slide so that you can see the screen much better. Just a second, please. So here, again, the title of the presentation is The Effectiveness of Women's Ministry from Servant Leadership to Transformational Leadership. And for this project, this is an abridged version of part of my doctoral dissertation coming up for defense at UTS. And it's been a wonderful 5, 6, 7 years journey to put all these together. Of course, initially with my MRE, Master of Religious Education program at UTS, I developed my faith, grew spiritually, networked with all types of individuals from all cultures, all religions, all walks of life. I was able to reflect, do a 360 reflection rather, in the way in how others think about the issues around the world, going on around the world, the way we can apply ecumenical thinking to various activities, the way that we can lead others and work with them in their spiritual journey. So it's been a 10-year journey for me at UTS, and I'm grateful for every step of the way that finally, it's coming to fruition and to an end. Of course, the end is also the beginning of the next phase of my life, in terms of transformational leadership, which I embedded into a lot of these self-reflective presentation. And of course, with the individuals that I contacted for my interview, they also were individuals that I met within various organizations while I was studying at UTS. And we seem to follow the same direction. So sometimes a 360 reflection is the way to go, which is the overall theme of how one can lead from the heart, especially as a woman of faith. So for my abstract, I decided to write a summary on my ministry, which is a self-reflective one, as I've mentioned, looking to assist with issues of faith development and spiritual development or growth, and one in which leadership styles, especially those of women, who are often overlooked in various spheres, whether it's in breaking the glass ceiling or in equity in terms of how they're able to perform their jobs, or in fighting for gender equality or advocating for justice on women's issues and items, of course, that pertain to women and how they can lead. So when we look at the issue of servant leadership versus transformational leadership, most faith-based organizations or even many churches or houses of worship, one where women are able to hold some leadership positions, tend to lead based on servant leadership, serving the congregation, serving the community, serving members within those organizations or faith-based entities on how they can continue to serve, being good, being just, doing things for others, but not really looking at how to equip themselves with the necessary leadership skills to be able to transform the way that they lead, so that they can get to the next level or the next step. And also with all the things that women juggle, how do you lead? How do you move from being a servant leader to that of a transformational leader, and also changing the style of how you lead, especially with everything going on in the 21st century. So, of course, coming also from the COVID pandemic, a lot has changed in the way that we have adjusted to our environment, to how we run churches, whether they're online or in person, or how we even manage the people that we work with. So part of the abstract also is to encourage a 360 retrospect of examining one's leadership style, your inner self, your inner capability or ability to be able to lead in various aspects of your ministry. Of course, when you look inward and you look at your inner self, we're talking of leading from the heart, which I'm going to show from the data that was collected. Now, the objective of my presentation was to actually explore the day-to-day leadership of the heart of women in faith-based organizations or ministries. So, of course, when I say faith-based organizations, it doesn't mean churches per se, or mosques or synagogues or any other places of worship. It just means, an environment where women who are in faith-based or who conduct faith-based activities. They could be service learning projects, they could be mission trips. They don't have to actually be pastors or called to to lead, or, to have their own churches or faith-based organizations in terms of preaching or those sort of activities. So like myself, even though, I'm a minister, ordained minister, but I do not have a church. Of course, I do work very close hand in hand with diverse entities, diverse individuals from all types of religion. And that's one thing when I was at UTS, obtaining my Master of Religious Education program, pretty much everyone knew me as, the interfaith person. I was so interested and engulfed in learning about the religious order, making peace, breaking bread, doing projects and activities together, which led me to the doctoral study journey. Now, the second objective for this work is to understand the diverse and changing role of women in ministry, women who are in ministry, who are leaders, looking at their servant leadership type of leading organizations or people to the transformational leadership style. One research question that I had, of course, there were so many, and within the dissertation, of course, I had other questions to ask, but the main one was, what are the successes and challenges for women's leadership in faith-based organizations or ministry in the 21st century? So are these universal, or are they particular or peculiar to one ministry or one individual? So of course, I had about 25 individuals that I surveyed, which I'll come to in a minute. But the methodology for my research was a phenomenological research, which is looking at the day-to-day interactive experience of individuals. So a phenomenological study is asking questions based on a person or a group of individuals' day-to-day activity. So it could be from what makes you the person you are, how does this community fare in terms of interacting with their neighbors. So any types of interaction or exchange that affects, improves, or challenges a person's life. And then you have a retrospect to think of how those may affect you, whether positively or negatively, are called phenomenological research, looking into the day-to-day interactive lived experiences of participants. And an open-ended survey questionnaire was used. The purpose of this open-ended questionnaire was for participants to be able to express as best as they could. Again, the research was not unique or particular to one type of ethnic or racial group, it was diverse. And of course, the language that many individuals, it may take a while for someone who speaks Korean to express themselves word for word as someone who doesn't speak Korean or Yoruba or, Chinese or French. So they may be able to express as a first language in one sentence what someone whose language is not, whose official language or first language is not in English. So open-ended questionnaire allows the researcher to be able to find similarities and differences by identifying keywords and offering the participants the opportunity to express as much as they would like to without just giving them a Likert type of questionnaire where they will select yes or no. However, with the questionnaire that I handed to my participants, there were 12 questions, 6 demographic questions, and 6 research questions, which were a combination of open-ended and Likert type. So for questions that were Likert type, were demographic questions such as, age brackets or the type of organizations you would select from urban to rural and so on and so forth. Now, the results for this presentation, of course, as I mentioned, this is just an abridged version of the entire project, but it's a good summary in which the audience can understand the effectiveness of women's leadership or women's ministry, from servant leadership to the transformational leadership. Now, out of the 25 individuals that I surveyed, the type of ministry or organization ranged from faith-based to community-based organization to international faith-based organization and international service-based organization, and some specified as other. The other question that was asked was that in the individual's organization, do both male and female refer to the participant most of the time as a transformational leader, which is 54% of the participants surveyed responded that they were seen as transformational leader. 33% or about 34% selected servant leader. Other, they selected other types of leadership, which they wrote the responses as, a mix of transformational and servant leadership, depending on the role and the activity or the time or where they are, the location. We determine if their leadership style will change between the servant leadership or the transformational leadership. So those were the 3 items that I selected at the beginning for the demographic responses, with the exception of the research question 1 of how the female leader is viewed by those that they lead, whether male or female. Now, the other research question was the question number 5. How likely or unlikely does your transformational leadership style promote gender equality, women's empowerment, and leadership in advancing God's kingdom? And, the 50% of them said that their leadership, transformational leadership style helps in promoting women's empowerment, gender equality, and of course, advancing God's kingdom. And about 37% selected that, it did, while about 4 or so percent said no, and then about 8% of the respondents said no. The other data or findings that I collected, that I analyzed from this open-ended questionnaire was a word cloud on looking at the similarities, if there were keywords or responses from the 25 respondents in being a servant leader versus a transformational leader, and how effective this was for their ministry. So some of the keywords included empowering, organization, helping a person better, success, to believe, woman power, positive others, leadership change, heart, leadership change of the heart, helping, transformational, getting effective, and then of course challenges. So these were some of the words that came out from some of those responses. Now, the first section I showed were the data that was collected after analyzing, and the findings that I summarized from the overall research was that I consulted the work of Blaine 2017, and he came up, he gave a formula for how individuals or organizations from the can lead using the transformational leadership style and having a flourishing business. So when we say flourishing business, it doesn't mean we have to work only in a corporation or in a business entity. It's encompassing. So when I use this work of Blaine 2017, not only was I thinking of the faith-based woman in leadership or faith-based ministry, faith-based organization, but of course, in any facet of one's life, one is able to use this key, which is if you want a flourishing business, you need flourishing employees, employees that will take the job or take the activity or take the environment or collaboration and appreciate it, and of course, help it thrive while they're also growing. And you're gonna need flourishing customers. So if you have happy employees, they're going to, of course, reach out and expand that business for you, which will bring in flourishing customers who are also able to grow. And this will create memorable experiences. So when you have a flourishing ministry, when you do your 360 inner spiritual journey and you self-reflect and you understand your own spiritual development or growth and having your spiritual autobiography, and you understand yourself, you're able to transform not only yourself, but those within and around you, those in your organizations, those that you come in contact with. When they're inspired and they can emulate the leader who has coached or taught them, they're able to also share the gift of this spiritual journey, this spiritual collaboration, spiritual development, and attract other witness to others by bringing them as either mentees or those that will help the organization, the business or ministry flourish. And of course, everyone will have a memorable experience, a thriving organization, and leading from the heart by putting God first, of course. So the other finding was that this includes forming small groups where people can take the time to pray, to share life's journey, provide support on reading God's word, and learning to notice God's presence in one's various ministry or community work. And of course, using the other major resource for my data finding was the biography of autobiography of Mother Moon that was published in 2010. And the other finding was that if you put into good use or put into, lead from the heart, put that into good use within your ministry, what you're going to end up with is a positive mindset. You're going to grow your mind, you will expand your horizon, and you're going to have optimal positivity, like everything will be positive. So when you look within yourself in a 360 journey and you have a retrospect, you're able to trace your life, you're able to trace what you're doing, you're able to actually then teach yourself, train yourself, and also grow with others around you. But all this cannot happen without the support necessary, which is within the heart, and of course, growing with others so that you can have a happy experience. So the conclusion for my presentation is that the transformational leadership perspective from a transformational leadership perspective, ministry or organization problems and how to resolve them using the flourishing business, formula to flourishing employees and flourishing customers can be as follows. Develop yourself spiritually, have a diverse ministry, and then change your leadership style to a transformational leadership style, which then means you will be happy with all this is going to be leading from the heart. And if you reverse it, when you lead from the heart and you have a transformational or improve your leadership style to be that of the transformational leadership, then you're able to want to carry individuals or others along to have a diverse ministry. And diversity doesn't mean in terms of ethnicity or racial composition. It means everyone from all walks of life, all gender or races, everyone who we consider a child or children of God. And then, of course, you continue to grow spiritually. And then in conclusion, again, my ministry is actually concerned with developing programs and activities in which individuals can learn how to form a closer bonding with God and invite God to take precedence over one's spiritual journey of writing a spiritual biography and of finding one's true inner self by leading from the heart. And future plans for this presentation is that after the DMin defense, I'm going to have the expanded results from this presentation. Of course, maybe present at various conferences and eventually publish it into a transformational leadership resource or a guide, which whether women or men, boys or girls or young adults or anyone can utilize to be able to transform and enhance their leadership style. Major resources that were consulted for the data analysis section for this presentation were Blaine 2017, titled 7 Principles of Transformational Leadership to Create a Mindset of Passion, Innovation, and Growth. And of course, Mother Moon's autobiography from 2010, Mother of Peace. So in terms of acknowledgement, I would like to acknowledge everyone in the Doctorate of Ministry program at the UTS Seminary, most especially Dr. Kone and everyone that worked or guided or supported me throughout this journey, especially Dr. Winings, and also my colleagues from the Women's Federation for World Peace USA, Women's Federation for World Peace New York City Metro Chapter, Mrs. Green, and Mrs. Angelica Selly, and also from the Women's Federation for World Peace International UN Office, Mrs. Merle Balan. And last but not the least, I sincerely appreciate Reverend Mrs. Jenkins of ACLC Women in Ministry. She was instrumental in getting my survey out to other members of Women in Ministry. And of course, the participants were not all unification members. They were part of the Women in Ministry, part of ACLC. Many of them are Pentecostal or even Muslims or Jewish leaders and so on and so forth. So I had some Hindu and Muslims and Christian leaders who, expressed interest in helping or assisting with collection of this data for my presentation. So if you would like to contact me, here's my UTS contact information and of course my private information. So I hope that this presentation has been fruitful and useful to many of you. Again, I'm going to share my screen as part of the requirement to have the poster displayed while presenting. I only decided to do the PowerPoint slide again so that the information, especially from the data section, could be shown on the presentation slide. So here is the actual one-page poster that the PowerPoint that I just presented was made from. I want to thank you all, especially for listening, and may God bless you all. Aju.